Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day, but not just another episode, episode 365. So I'm going to be referring to this as the last episode of season one. And as my guest, who you can see, and I get through the process a little bit more, or the show today, we'll be announcing a couple things that we're going to be doing for our second season and when that's going to start. So my first shout out, as you know, I always give shout outs, is to everybody who's been on the show, the community who has helped me promote the show or find guests or whatever. You guys were spectacular. I couldn't have done it without you. You made the show happen. And I just love you all for being so supportive. I've got my shirt I always give a shout out to. So Make Space for Others. Thank you, Dustin, for the design and making me this shirt. And, that's an important goal of the Fledge, is to make space for others, and certainly an important goal for the show. So I hope I did a good job at making space and giving anybody who wanted to come on the show a voice to tell their story. So we're going to keep doing that, but we'll tell you about when and how and all of that. And then, it's September 11th. We all probably have had that in the back of our mind at some point today, maybe not all of us. And I wanted to say something profound or something like that, but what I really want to do is go look at Claretta Duckett's post on Facebook this morning, her thoughts on 9/11. I didn't serve. I didn't go over there. There's a lot of things that I haven't done. And I think that she has a good way of putting it today, and something that I believe in. So go check out what Claretta said, because it was pretty awesome. And let's get to my guests. So here I have my great friend. And when I say great friend, I've meant before that I've known him for a long time and all of that. But I'm going to say with Siso, I mean, this is somebody I really vibe with. I really dig. I love him to death. And I mean, you know how I feel about you.
It's mutual, baby. It's mutual.
Remember that day we met each other for the first time?
Yep.
Where you were shooting photos,
Yep.
and I was trying to be all dressed up and shit. And
I definitely remember, man. You had this crushed velvet jacket on. It was my first gig. It was my first paid gig as a photographer. I was just starting my entrepreneurial career, but I was also just starting to think about economics and community work. And man, you were real chill. You were real welcoming. I remember you had this pin on that I liked, and I made mention of it, and just like, yeah, man, just classic OG. You took it off and gave it to me. And, I basically wore that pin until I became the person that I wanted to become, man. And that's a person that's very much like you. So that's always been love, man.
Man, don't try to shift the show over to me here, because this show is going to be about you. But
it's about us, baby. It's about us.
So I know you got a lot of people you want to give.
I see you, Oprah.
To.
I see you, Oprah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see you, Mama Shannon. There's a whole lot of people that I need to give shout outs to. I might not remember them all in the moment, but what I'll make sure I do is comment after the fact, man. But a couple people that are coming to mind right now. Got to give a shout out to my man, Doug Maines from Runabout Coffee. Got to give a shout out to Dustin Hunt from Euromatics. Got to give a shout out to my underboss, KT, Keontae Saxon. Man, I got a whole collective of people that have really been rocking with me as I figure out the direction that I'm moving with. People like Olivia, people like Alina, people like Sema, Tina. I mean, it goes on and on. Stay tuned to my social media feeds to see who I rock with and who rocks with me. That's lanartbus, LANARTBUS. You put that together and it's short for Lansing Art Business. Some of my favorite words all smashed together. So if I didn't catch you now, I'll catch you on the back end. But most of all, I want to give a shout out to my man, Jerry Norris. Yeah. It's an honor to be on the last show, man. I was definitely ducking and avoiding, but also because of the way you've poured into me, man, I want to always do what I can to help you out. And I knew that being on the show would be something that was good for you, man. So I wanted to close it out.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the last one. To put my stamp on it and just say, man, we see you. We love you. We appreciate you.
You asked me 5 months ago. You told me I'll be on the last show 5 or 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. So we're barely halfway through. And my first thought was, he probably doesn't think I'm gonna make it that far.
No. You're one
No,
of the
my real thought was that was a big show of confidence in me.
right. And I can't lie, it was also one of my favorite plays from one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Gary Vee, because I also know the last is a coveted spot. So I definitely want to rock with you, but I also want to, I want to have that exclusive.
Yeah.
Oh, and we got to shout out Dustin, because Dustin also helped me print this shirt right here, which I printed at the Fledge, man.
I'm gonna get into your shirts a little bit because I love them so much. But let's do that in the project side.
I got you. I see you, Omar. Okay, baby.
Yeah. So let's start with you.
Okay.
Where were you born and raised? Where'd you go to school?
I'm from Lansing, man. I'm the first person in my family born in America. The rest of us are from South Africa, Swaziland, Zimbabwe. East Lansing. Always lived on the most east side of Lansing. Went to schools like Montessori. Went to schools like White Hills. Went to schools like Riddle. Went to schools like Cranbrook. Went to schools like Lansing Catholic. And then went to school in Florida, Full Sail University. Yeah, that's where I've done school. I think I hit them all there.
Yeah. How'd you go from White Hills to Riddle?
All of my scholastic career I owe to my mom. As I said, she's a foreigner, and we covet education. So she would learn about great programming, and she would put me in it. She was always aware that I was smart and creative. So she always tried to put me in schools that were either like reputable in terms of making people really academic or making people really creative. So that's kind of why I bounced around. Any school that I've been to is either like superior academically or superior creatively. And that's what made this mutant today.
I'm in love with Riddle.
Yeah.
First class to ever go there and all of that. But when you said that, when I was in between summers or in a summer from college, I lived in Capitol Commons, and I had to ride to White Hills on a bike to do a bunch of lawn work.
The Wolves, baby.
So I was thinking Riddle to White Hills was my path there. But Riddle is a sweet school.
Riddle is where I decided on what I wanted to become. And Riddle also is a really special place to me because it represents a really special time. I believe that the middle school window is so important and formative, and that's where a lot of people gain their identity. So I know we'll get to it a little bit more in the future, but a lot of the stuff that I do somehow ties back to trying to make some sort of impression on middle schoolers.
Oh yeah, that's your age.
I remember I was walking up the Riddle ramp. I decided that I wanted to be a designer. I knew that if I had internet, I could go anywhere and do anything. And I don't know what made me, but I remember locking in on being like, I want to be a graphic designer / studio artist, Yeah.
You knew it back then.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a place like Riddle allowed me to begin to recognize what's possible for me. I went to different places. I had really influential teachers. Shout out to Miss Rosado, Miss Arnett, Mr. Champion. Yeah.
I can only remember our principal's name, and his name was Mr. Whiting.
What's really cool is I unplanned ended up back at my middle school the first day of this school year, and I knocked on the door, and I know it's difficult to interact because of COVID, but the person who opened the door was the principal. And he was a black man. And now I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. Mr. Whiting was also a black man.
Okay.
So the very first principal of Riddle was too.
I like it.
So, this is, I imagine, I don't know much about Montessori. Is that a white school, a black school, a mixed school?
When I think about Montessori, or how I explain it, it's like a way of thinking. So Montessori schools are all over, but many times with like education and class, there is a relationship between like higher classes receive higher levels of education. But Montessori kind of instills certain principles in their students and encourages them to think certain ways, just high levels, kind of like for themselves, kind of making their own answers, finding their own path. And I'm a Montessori kid.
That's the type of school I've always loved.
Right.
And think we should do more
Right,
of.
right, right.
Because, it's a lot more about discovery and learning that way
Mhm.
than it is, here's fact 1, fact 2, fact 3, that probably ain't even facts, to be honest.
I didn't learn this nomenclature until later on in my life, but it is like, how do we teach people to be problem solvers, right? Like, here's a path, and I'm not going to tell you how to get from here to here. I'm going to tell you where you need to go, and then I'm going to encourage you to think, like, what's the best way for you to get there? And then I'll be here to help you. So that kind of atmosphere and platform really catapulted me a lot into how I am today, for better or for worse.
I just realized I should take a quick break. You might hear some background noise. You hear some banging upstairs. You see me in the engineering room. Maybe you recognize it. And that's because we have pro wrestling going on right now. So we're looking into a locker room, basically, and up above it, they're warming up for the wrestling. So if you feel like coming out for pro wrestling, 3 p.m. today, $15 at the door, unless you're the guest and want to stick around, of course.
I might have to.
So, yeah. Now, let's get back to you a little bit. So you come back from Florida, and what'd you start doing?
I came back from Florida, and I think the first thing that I did occupation-wise was work at Giorgio's. But I came back to Florida from Chicago to help out with the family. As you age, people in your family, you start to think about health, and you get confronted with it in different ways. So I came to help assist my mom. And I had planned to be in Chicago for longer than I was. So I didn't really have a plan when I came back. I was working a regular job, kind of trying to make money. I was fortunate enough to have a job opportunity at Impression 5. I enjoyed that space more than I did making pizzas, because there's youth and young people and they're impressionable. Also, when I was at Riddle, every day after school, I would go to the Michigan Historical Center. And I like to say that place, that museum, that cultural center, as well as a compilation of libraries, helped raise me. So working at Impression 5 was also an honor to just be in that space. I grew from a guest experience team member to the graphic designer for the building. And that was slightly surreal, because I kept hearing information about how hard it is to get a job in the field that you studied for. Also, it was slightly disheartening coming from Chicago, for the reasons I had to, but the occupation, the career, the creative energy that I thought I was going to get in Chicago, I wasn't able to tap into. But when I came here, I was able to maneuver this creative scene and kind of make my impact. So it's still surreal to like walk into Impression 5 and see, I see museum exhibits that I made and designed and assisted with, of course, with the team. But, I had like my niece in mind, and it's still there. And I remember that I went there as a kid. So, yep, Impression 5 is kind of where my career started.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, Impression 5, it's an old place.
It's got history.
It was over on South Pennsylvania, in this little bitty room.
Yep.
I mean, it's way smaller than it is now.
Yep.
And you just walked from one little exhibit to the other, and some good memories.
Right.
Good memories. I got called out once by someone. I was trying to look for the lump in the breast for too long, I guess, is what they thought.
I gotta touch it.
I was fascinated. Not for that reason. So, all right, tell us some more. What path have you been taking to get to where you're at right now?
So I worked at Impression 5. I was doing a myriad of designing, right? There's like exhibit and marketing design and environmental graphics and branding, really just the aesthetic, the visual language of the organization. After that, I became an entrepreneur. Like, I opened my photography business. And like we said at the beginning, I mean, that's kind of where we met, right? I say names like Joe Carr, who's a huge inspiration. I met him in another cultural institution, a makerspace. And this was a community individual who had some time and capacity and made a platform and made it accessible to people like some people I know. And he really encouraged me to chase some of the things I was interested in: photography, entrepreneurship, and economic development. I opened my photography business. I was part of like a fashion incubator accelerator, learned a lot of things, met a lot of people. And then I jumped into the economic development world, working in the new economy division. We're talking about people I need to give shout outs to. Got to give a shout out to my man, Tony Willis, you know? And that leap is where I met people like I met Joe Carr, right? I met Jerry Norris. I met Tony Willis. And honestly, you three individuals helped mold the way that I think in ways I don't think you all still fully understand. I always told myself I wanted to be somewhere in between Tony Willis and Jerry Norris, right? Man, Tony's so smooth. He's so gregarious. He's so boisterous. He's so confident. You know, Jerry's so tactical. He's so entrepreneurial. He's so philosophical.
I don't like being that far away on the smooth spectrum, though.
Oh, man. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You smooth, but there's few in the game as smooth as Tony Willis.
I know. So, man, let's talk about some of the work that you did with Leap.
Oh, man.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I like to use the word mutant because I think about, you know, what are people's underlying powers, talents, abilities. And when I went to a dynamic organism like Leap, my eyes were opened. I was entered into a matrix. I learned about economic development. I learned about entrepreneurship. I learned about public-private partnership. I learned about how we can influence and strategically grow communities. And I also saw the importance of having representation, yes, across different diverse backgrounds, but also diverse ways of thinking. I kind of actually went into the economic development world with a slight chip on my shoulder because I'm formally trained as a creative. Right. And when we talk about creatives, what side of the brain they use, what's good for them and what's not, I wanted to go into this business world and be able to prove that creative people can barter deals, can be shrewd, can learn stats, numbers, sheets. And that was a place where I began doing all those things. I also was fortunate enough, man, I had the opportunity to run amazing programming, right? Youth, entrepreneurship, middle schoolers, high schoolers in Lansing across 3 districts. I got to go into schools. I got to talk to kids about what's possible. I got to ask them what problems they want to solve. I got to ask them what they see for themselves as a possibility. I got to reinforce younger people in ways that I would have liked to have been reinforced more myself. And I learned a lot about the city. I was also given the opportunity to access a lot of different groups of people, conversations, a lot of different things going on at one time.
Yeah. We used to get to sit in some meetings that would I'd be listening and thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
Man? This is weird.
Well, what I like is, I think a person like me is dangerous because I'm in a lot of different places and I feel like I can get along with anybody. I'm kind of like a spy. I can get along on this side of town. I can get along on that side of town. I feel comfortable with this class of people, and I can also relate to this class of people. So to sit in some of those meetings, you definitely see representations of demographics that might you like, oh, wow, we are not the same kind of person. But that being said, I also kind of loved it. I'm South African, like I said, and one of my favorite archetypes or mentors or pictures is Nelson Mandela, right? And his ability to get everybody together, all types of people that, like, without someone like him, they wouldn't be able to sit at the same table. But because someone like him is there, we're able to sit together and make things happen with each other. I really enjoy being exposed to that. But yeah, you hear things, you see things, you experience points of views that you're just like, that's different from how I feel or what I think.
Yeah. Did your family leave South Africa because of apartheid?
Yeah, when my family left, it was a really tumultuous time politically. And my family was actually like in exile. My brother was born in an exile camp. When we came here in the 90s, I was born here. So they came here a little bit before that. I got to stop and pause and say, like, I'm forever going to be a Spartan. Never went. But, our first home game is today. And I really love the institution because to me, it represents like the reason why I'm here in America. Of course, we're seeking political safety. But again, a common theme of education. My dad has a doctorate. My mom has a master's. Both of these people went to this organization. We went to MSU because my dad's got a real big poultry and agricultural background, right? And MSU is a powerhouse for that. So political oppression as well as education is what brought us to the United States, specifically next to MSU. And that's also part of what fuels my love for like education.
Did a lot of times when people have to leave their country and they come to the U.S. as refugees, maybe they were a dentist and then they lose their licensing and it's hard to gain that back, so they end up working at a gas station or something. So pretty lucky that your dad's kind of transferred. Yeah. And maybe because it was South Africa too, because it was more Western.
Well, there's like a lot of respected work in agriculture in South Africa at that time. But I'm really glad that you brought that point up because that hits really a main artery about what I respect about entrepreneurship. Because I always use the example of college. Like, how disheartening is it when you go to school at one college and you transfer to another and all your credits, all the work, all the things that you did don't transfer? How many times are individuals who are displaced put in a new area and they kind of have to start from the beginning? I think one of the dynamic things about entrepreneurship is like, even though there are specific adversities or struggles that these displaced people go through, if you ran a business over here, business, like those principles transfer. And even if you're in an environment where people want to kind of take away from the significance, the knowledge, the value that you have, books don't lie. Business doesn't lie. And you can't take anything from anyone who knows how to tend to their business machine.
I love the way you're explaining that. It took me to, have you ever read that All In Startup book? That's a poker game.
No, I haven't.
I know we've talked about it before. Right. But, poker's transferable too. You can play poker in Syria. You can play poker in North America, whatever. All over. And the lessons you learn, people can talk smack about it if they want. But if you got all the chips, then. Yeah. Right.
I mean, I like that a lot. And I think, long story short, entrepreneurship is universal.
Yeah. I wrote down the lessons of entrepreneurialism are transferable. Right. Values.
One thing my brother made me realize, because he's like such a great teacher, but principles transfer. I saw him excel in sports, and then I saw all the lessons that he learned in sports apply to fatherhood, professional occupation, his relationship. Like, not everything is the same, but if you gain success in an area, you can kind of deconstruct it and reconstruct it to have success in other areas. And I just think entrepreneurial knowledge and thinking and culture makes people a good kind of dangerous. But yeah, those principles transfer.
Values, not rules. I always say that, and I say they transfer. That's why rules don't transfer.
Right.
Rules don't ever transfer.
That's why you don't follow them, huh?
I think I follow most of them. You're sticking within my values.
You actually do. I think there's a slight irony. A person who makes empowered decisions to follow rules sometimes seems like they're an agitator, and you're an individual who, even if you poke something, you won't poke it to break it down. You just poke it to investigate. But if you ask about a rule, it doesn't necessarily mean you won't follow it, but you're just curious about the nature of the rule. And sometimes that can be seen as adversarial because we're just used to people accepting rules, or mandates or whatever.
Yeah. There's some rules I will not follow. I mean,
this I know,
especially when they're silly, like they, trying to make someone prove they're hungry before you give them food, or they live in a certain area.
Man, but even when we talk about that, one of the things I respect about what I know of you, like, even if you're not following a rule, the way that you don't follow a rule is by like trying to embody what the rule should be, right? What I've learned from you is like, if I don't follow the rule, I'm going to give you an example of what I think the rule should look like, and you can measure me against that.
Yeah. I think some people would call me a sociopath for being like that, though, right?
Sometimes it doesn't matter what people say, man. Sometimes it's necessary to consider it, But sometimes it really doesn't matter, and what I know from my relationship with you is like, why you do things. And it's great that you're secure and sturdy enough when there is opposition or when there's waves against us. Like, I know why I'm doing this. I got to keep doing it this way, even if you view me as X, Y, and Z.
I get messages from the show through my watch sometimes.
Well, we blowing up then.
We're blowing up on Twitter or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But Raven giving a shout out to show 365.
Hey.
You guys know each other from her work around here.
Yes. We're Facebook friends now, I think, so it's official.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So tell us what's going on. Tell us about your projects. Let's start with your shirt.
My shirt.
How many different styles you got? Or you want to tell people what that is in case they don't know?
Yeah, so this is a shirt that I designed. I got to stop here real quick. I designed it at the Fledge. I designed it like literally upstairs and maybe a little bit to the left. I designed it for free. I had people here walk me through the whole process. I had people meet me. I had the doors open and unlocked. And I'm saying it like this because I want you to understand, like, anyone under the sound of my voice has the same access to this place. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I made it on the show, but also like give you your props, man. Like, you are here. Like, I've told you how many times I wanted to print. I've almost told you as many times as I've told Joe Carr, right? But Joe Carr hit me with the biggest statement. He was like, Siso, I don't see you wearing any of the shirts that you talk about, though. So I come to a place like this, and it's easy to put a shirt together. I actually even wore this one because this one's like messed up, right? Mm-hmm. I learned with this one. I learned like, I got to fix my taping and I got to make sure that the emulsion screen burns all the way through. And it's lessons like these that build these entrepreneurial and creative communities. And that's happening literally in this room where we're at. But everything that I do, especially entrepreneurially, we're here to empower women, specifically women of culture, specifically women like the one who raised me. And we're here to affirm culture, right? We're here to promote like ethnicity. That's what I'm here to do. So when I make a shirt like this, it says the word foreign, but it's a flip on the Ferrari logo. I'm trying to make something that's like a little pop culture reference, something that your eyes will see really quickly and recognize, but then you read it and you see that it says foreign. And hopefully it's just an access point into, like I said, affirming culture, right? One thing I want to do is I want to empower younger people from different cultural backgrounds to be proud of their heritage, especially when they're not the common denominator, when they're the outlier, when they're the foreigner. They feel different, and you want to revert and assimilate and like become like what's around you. And I just kind of want to affirm, like, don't do that. Some of the things that you want to change and become less like, man, in a few years, they will be your value proposition. They will be what makes you dynamic. They will be what gets you paid more. That knowledge that you have of a language or a different culture. So I'm just kind of here to put on for that. Try and make it look fly. Try and make it look cool. So that's what my clothing line that I'm building does. So when I take the entrepreneurial lessons that I learned from people like you and in places like Leap, right now, this is the only print that I have, but because I'm scaling up, right? Like I've got to do market validation. I've got to hear what the customer base says. I have to validate if the idea in my mind resonates with who I want to pay like I think it will. I need to give them the opportunity to say, this is great, this is not great, or hey, if you did this to it, that would be really cool. So right now I'm in that process, yes, with these shirts, but like with my business as a whole. I came up with an acronym that sounds like my name, CESO. And after many conversations with mentors like you and Tony Willis, like my big thing is I'm a creative entrepreneurial service organization. And I'm here to help creative people create more. And the best way that I know to do that is to encourage them to turn it into a system, which is a close cousin to a business, which is why you might as well start thinking entrepreneurially. So if we get creative people who make culture and know how to systematize it in a way that it sustains, then we can like permeate and influence culture. It's really heady, man, and it's huge, but that's what I'm doing here.
I want to go back to, if a bunch of diverse people get into a room and then they start to assimilate and start to, get in line
You
and
lose it,
act
man.
professional and all of that, that whole thing that the Fledge Foundation always says is bigger brain, better world, that brain shrinks as people do that. So that's a good fight that you're doing, because it's going to make a smarter community, which means a stronger community, which means we're going to solve our own problems.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, like economics. Economics starts in a household, and then it bounces to the houses on the street, and then multiple streets in a block make up a county, which makes up an identity for a state. Like, economics is not just bringing Amazon to the state. Economics is also making sure that, like, there's an after school program for that person over there, and we'll teach them how to screen print so they can do something else better with their time than whatever is at their fingertips.
I feel often that we suffer economically. 27% of the people of Lansing in poverty, mostly, or a large part, because we focus so much on economic development and hoping for this trickle down, and we don't focus on the community development. We're, still dissecting each other all into little bitty pieces and keeping each other unconnected.
And what, like, I don't want to take away from the importance of thinking from the top. And again, like some of the conversations we have about like rule breaking and calling stuff out, I'm not really here to make an argument, right? And if I see that there's an area that needs to be addressed, well, let's address it. So while people are staying in the top and in this bracket here, if this area right here is uncontested and unattended, I'm gonna just kind of like, let me slide in here, and if you don't mind, let me just try and do what I think I can do to help cultivate this in a way. The whole time myself knowing, though, like, to me, that's where the start of the equation is. But again, I'm not here to ruffle feathers or make a problem. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is attend to a space that I think needs to be cared for, and I don't see that it's happening. So, with my autonomy and like respect and grace, let me get in here and kind of work it. But I know that you're going to see results. We're all going to see results, tangible, that we like. And then we're going to get to the point where like, oh, we need more of that. And then that's when I'm sitting there like, now we can talk. And I think that that's just business. Go for the uncontested area of the market if it's where your conviction is, and then build what you think should be there while taking time to get people's feedback on like, hey, is this as great as I think it is? That's difficult though, but it's necessary.
Yeah. Hey, if we wanted to buy a shirt, how would we even do that?
Well, I'm taking pre-orders right now, right? Everything is funneled through the handle lanartbus. I live in Instagram. You can see some things on my website, but it's being developed in real time. I have a form up there. You fill out information and I capture it, and then we take the pre-orders. But as I continue to work with local printers, I want to be really smart with how I spend my money, but I also want to be very purposeful with who I work and partner with. But at the same time, I do kind of want to dangle something in people's face to build anticipation. But, hit me on Instagram, lanartbus.
Should I put that out?
Do it. Hit me on Instagram, lanartbus. I'd love to know your shirt size. I'd love to know if you're from Lansing or not. I'd love to have your information so that as I continue to iterate, I want to hear from you. What do you think? I always say, I will take into consideration anything anybody says, but that doesn't mean I'll listen to you, right?
That's right.
But I'm curious, is what I think in here the same as really out here? I was watching a show last night called The Prophet, and it's like, it's about entrepreneurship, but validating. There's a chasm between what goes on in here and what goes on in the world, right? And the quicker I can close it, the quicker I can get to the end result, which I want. And that's a success of like penetrating culture in a certain way. So that's where I'm at right now.
I've found in the similar work that we do, whether it's a creative entrepreneur like on your side or a tech entrepreneur, maybe on my side, that ability to stay objective and the ability to nudge them in that way is one of the most important things I have to do.
Right.
It's the most impactful.
Well, it's
Do
easier.
you find that?
It's easier for me to do for other people than myself.
Of course.
You know, like I've spent, man, it's been like 7 to 8 years. I've spent about the last 8 years like helping people bring their ideas to life, pushing them further, trying to exhort them, trying to pull out from them what they're telling me that they want, and helping them go through these iterations. I mean, that's almost a decade of work trying to make value and impact for other people. You know, and then I look at some of my sketchbooks or some of my notebooks, and it's like, man, you haven't even. Again, Joe hit me with the realist. He's like, I have not seen one of your shirts yet. You know, so it's very crucial, but it is also kind of difficult. That's why people like myself, yourself, Joe's, and Tony's, whoever want to affirm, guide, and give a platform for these people, very, very, very significant, man.
What else? You have a 1-year anniversary coming up?
Oh man, in October of 2020, I started a program called Block Market. You know, in no way at all did I do it on my own, but it stemmed from the desire to see a building owner in my neighborhood who looked like me, right? I live in downtown Lansing. That's such a precious area of real estate in the city, and I feel home and welcome there. I would also like to see, you know, someone who looks like me owning more than I see, you know? So again, instead of complaining or rabble rousing or trying to make a problem, you know, I took the lessons that I got from my man, Tony Willis, and, you know, I made a program. And then I try to ask the people who I thought were the best, who were, you know, better than me at how to get us to this situation. And I always stressed that it was a program, but it started off, its inception, like it was a pop-up, right? And the pop-up is like a Trojan horse, right? How do we get in the building? And then once we get in the building, let's take it over. So, you know, on some level right now, I'm kind of trying to take over my neighborhood in the best way that I can. But Block Market was a program that was designed to catalyze Black ownership of real estate in downtown Lansing. That's a mission thing, though. That's far down the road. What we do on the day-to-day, like I said earlier, is we just affirm entrepreneurs who are women, and we affirm entrepreneurs of ethnicity, and we validate their experiences, and we try to put them on in ways that we can, you know, and we just try to be a platform to catalyze that kind of culture in the capital city, man.
So, you know, man, I don't know which route. You and I have been talking to Forsberg a little bit.
Right. Oh, yep.
Yeah, we should always give him a shout out for some
Well, he
of
texted me this last week, and I was doing too much, but I do want to catch up with him. He's a great mind.
I think he's got some exciting news.
I know. He said he wanted to share something with me. I see you, Brent. I got you.
So, and we've been, you know, I really want to do some community investment trust,
right?
And I want to do it with a crypto and a DAO,
right,
and all these things that we'll talk about some other time. And I think, you know, he kind of sees that vision,
right?
But I want to do it for the reason that you're talking about,
right?
And I just want to give a shout out to a show a few days ago. Shara, she owns Agape Organic Farms, 2 Black female-owned farms in all of Michigan.
Hey man, you're like I said, you're talking to an agriculturist kid. That's big.
And she went to get an FHA loan and needed to either be 3 years owning a farm or 3 years managing a farm.
Right.
And this isn't the, let's just say this is there's some barriers to get into farming and being the manager of some white person's farm. Right. And she talked about some of even the barriers in her own community with people coming at her and threatening her and all kinds of things. This has to stop. I mean, that's almost, if you look at biodiversity, having more people is going to get more people or more things planted,
collisions,
more experts, more creativity. And I don't know. I mean, this is inequity at its worst, maybe, when it comes to how do you gain a foothold
Right.
if you can't gain a foothold?
Well, I just think something like agriculture is so important because it's knowledge that should be readily accessible to everyone because we're talking about consumption.
Yeah.
You know, and like
We will all be hungry tomorrow.
if a neighborhood doesn't have food, what kind of sustainability is there? And then, okay, you have food, but if you don't have an understanding how to make the food, then how far away are you from like not being sustainable? And if you don't understand how the food is being made and what you're putting in your body, then what's the health sustainability of your community? And then we get into, well, why does everybody on your block seem to have this medical problem?
Right.
I mean, it goes and compounds and compounds and compounds.
Yeah. So love the way you're thinking. Always have.
You know, I think all over the place. And I'm very fortunate for spaces like this and people like you who help structure and organize the thoughts and then put them into, you know, like actionable plans or proposed steps, right? And then you give and respect people with enough space to be like, hey, I can't make you do it. I do believe in you to do it, right? And when you're ready to do it, I'm here for you. So while we're making shirts, we're kind of trying to do that. I think of myself as like a glorified lab instructor. And, you know, I thought of you as the mad scientist when I first met you, but it is like, how do you make a space? I continue to think of like a rectangle. And in the same way that you say people should be able to come into your space and ask you if they can, and before they finish, you tell them yes. My goal is like, look, I'm working on my things right here. I know you got things to work on. Come and work on it next to me. And also like, hey, I've been a couple places in this area and I've got a couple relationships where maybe what you're doing, even if I can't help you with, let me connect you to somebody who can. But it's all about like, what do you want to do? What's your conviction? What's your drive? How do we build? Yes, we can. Let's figure it out. I don't have an answer right this second, but like let's work it out together.
Yeah. So what should we be promoting? Or do we forget to talk about anything? Like, do you have any events coming up? Do you
Man, I'm really excited. Also, you know, saying that I live in social media, just that's where you stay tuned with me. Right now I'm working on building my Facebook presence because in comparison to my Instagram platform where I do the most work, I want to get those views up. But I will be coming with details very soon about specific dates. But right now I'm really excited to, you know, work on an art exhibit with a couple dynamic female artists of color. And when we look at my business, which is lanartbus, of course, there's the Lansing, there's the art and the business. I've been hitting the business hard, right? And I'm always repping for Lansing. But I'm kind of getting back to my roots, getting back to my middle school phase, which is what can we do to promote and catalyze the arts, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got a show coming up. I've never done one like this before. I've never interacted with partners the way that I am. But one of the things that I learned from Block Market is like, I need a team around me. So I'm running an experiment on like how I play call with the team. And also I want to set something up so I can like step further back away from it than I ever have to see, you know, how it happens. But we've got an exhibit coming in downtown Lansing featuring some female artists, business owners. And when we talk about women history in Lansing, a lot of times we look to like yesteryear and we talk about lore, but this one I'm really excited. Man, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about today. And I'm also going to be audacious and make a couple calls for the future. But we're talking about women in the Lansing area currently making history, and it's named Now. New Outstanding Women.
I like it. You teaming up with someone?
Yes. I'm working with the Her Story Museum, who's like a partner with Michigan Women's Forward. And then, man, I got a roster of some just dynamic women, man, nice. Who are like better than me, smarter than me, more creative than me, more humble than me, like everything I'd like to be. And instead of trying to become that on my own, I want to like get really good at bringing them around me and learning from them. Like, how do I become that?
How is the Her Story? Because they had to pop back after that flood.
Yeah, they actually
I haven't gone back and seen yet.
Well, they reopened their doors 3 Wednesdays ago now, and they're open every Tuesday and Thursday in downtown Lansing. And I think that they're doing well. They're poising themselves, hopefully, for a strong year. And I know they're planning for their 2022 like summer programming. So really excited, man. But let's tell Lansing's history now. You know,
We didn't hit on. Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Never mind. What I think your mission is clear.
Hmm.
Do you think your mission, you clarified it? Do you have a statement you want to say, or
I-
did it?
I think that I do a lot of things. So sometimes things get lost in words. But if you look at my track record and my history, if you look at the places I've been, and if you look at the people I've been trying to put on, it's the same, man. You know, it's the same. It's Lansing, it's creative individuals, right? And it's creating a culture of entrepreneurship. You know, at the heart of everything, I believe that everybody has gifts, talents, abilities, and interests, and there's a life for them in those things. And we need to ask, how do we create a world for these individuals that they can continue to do those things? If you find what makes you vibrate, if you find what makes you resonate inside, I want to give you permission to chase after that, right? And I want to help you figure out the swiftest way you can get to it, and how do we make a system where you can do it a whole bunch, whether it needs to make you money or that's up to you. But I just want you doing what your gifts, talents, abilities, and interests are. That's where your life is.
Sustain,
Right.
so you can keep doing more. So, what do you do every damn day to push that forward?
Get on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nah, man. I mean, yes. I use my tools. Like, I'm a maker, I'm a creator. So every day I'm either designing something, some graphics, I'm pushing some pixels, I'm trying to come up with a spatial layout, I'm trying to make an exhibit, or I'm trying to connect with somebody meaningfully digitally. Like, my foray into the social media and digital world was when I got the privilege and honor of helping manage the social media platform for Below the Stacks, which is a mural festival.
Yeah.
Again, took me right back to middle school. All the field trips to Detroit and Chicago, seeing art, trying to make that available to people. But that's where I started swimming in the digital world and getting to connect with the artists of the caliber that were there, and seeing how receptive they were, and seeing the city of Lansing receive the activity we were doing so well. I learned there that, you know, I can drop a lot of bombs digitally. I can make a lot of influence. And if you ask the people that hang out with me, you know, I'm very forward facing, but I'm also very much a background guy. I'm very much like a connector. I want to be a playmaker, right? I want to set stuff up that I don't need to be there for, you know.
Yeah, I like it. You know, I had Quaj on the show a few days ago.
Yeah, man.
And his question that he passed to the next guest was, is it more important for you to have friends who support you blindly, or friends who support your mission and that's why they support you? And when I was talking to him about it, I was thinking, you know, entrepreneurialism and that objectivity thing that we've said before. Then I started thinking about, you know, people get on Facebook and are like, oh man, you don't even support me, you're my friends and all that. Like it's almost that you have to support your friends. And I think at some level you do.
Right.
But then just when I was talking to you and you keep talking about Lansing and love and stuff like that, I think about Love Lansing. And I wonder how many people love Lansing and how many people #love Lansing. You ever think about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think about it a lot, you know, but I'm kind of like a rapper, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody's ever doing it like me. I don't think anybody's bars are as hard as mine. I don't think anybody's out here rapping like I am. I don't think anybody's as nice as I am. And I don't mean that like disparagingly, but I don't think anybody loves Lansing like I do. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying that my love is the best or the most pure. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, you don't love my city the way that I do, because you're not me. Like, my city made me. I always say I'm a product of programming and parenting, in either order. That's what I'm a product of. The parenting, that's in my house. Y'all have nothing to do with that. The programming, though, that's the schools I went to, the teachers I had, the people I was with, the places that I went. Like, this city programmed who and how I am. I don't think anybody does.
You gonna help me get Lansing Raised Me going at some point?
I still got my bumpers. I got the
Right.
sticker. I know exactly what shelf it's in.
I think there's only like 6 of you.
Yo, when you gave it, Jerry, I know where that sticker is, and I moved in January. Okay? I know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Sans 3 stacks and everything.
Sans 3 stacks. I love that phrase. I stole it from Compton or graffiti in Compton. But it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Right? If you got your front teeth, if you lost your front teeth in Lansing, then you're gonna love Lansing a little different than if you just moved.
Going back to that rap analogy or whatever, hopefully every rapper feels that way. Hopefully everyone in the city feels that way. That's not a negative competition. If we're all trying to put on for where we represent in a way that's peculiar and specific to us all, very much like we were talking about earlier, like no assimilation.
Right.
Learn how to maneuver, but no assimilation, right? So put on for your neighborhood, your house, your last name, your street name, whatever. Put on for that in the way that you feel convicted to. And not everyone's convictions are the same.
I think that's a super good metaphor about you loving Lansing in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can you teach me about loving Lansing if we already love Lansing the exact same way? You can't teach me anything, right? And I can't teach you.
Right.
But having that different view makes our spectrum, right?
Right. It's very much, again, like another business parallel. What's your value proposition? My value proposition is that I can talk about the same thing you can talk about, but just only in the way that I can talk about it. That's all I have to offer. I'm not even saying I'm talking about something different. Nope. We talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
I just use some words that you don't. And that's what my competitive edge is, as yours.
That's why you're one of the people I check in with to make sure I'm being objective. Is this a good idea? Am I using the right words?
Right.
Yeah.
You do.
Maybe we'll announce a couple of those things you've been helping me out with at some point.
I'm right here, man. I'm right here.
All right. So this is the very last question being passed on. I got to tell you who this kid is too.
Okay.
From yesterday's show to today's show. So this is the last one for this season.
Right.
And his name was Jonathan Montalvo.
Okay.
You recognize that last name?
Yeah.
Robert?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, the first one, no, but the last one, yes.
Fugly?
What's the question?
Well, his question to you is, what's the most impactful thing that you've ever done? Or what was the most impactful accomplishment on the artists that you helped because you kind of nudged them in the right way? Or whatever you did. You might not be nudging, you might be letting them explore.
The most impactful thing. I wouldn't say that it was like the most impactful thing in my life. I think it's like the most impactful like radius spread thing that I've had a hand in. It would be a tie between either the youth startup challenge at Leap, impactful in terms of trying to create a culture of entrepreneurs, but also like a personal win with my block market programming, to be blessed enough to see the artists and the businesses that took part at this market, just a small market. It was the beginning, and the things that they ended up doing later and later. Individuals like Amina just had her first show not too long ago. I mean, the city has seen Najima Aman from You Shine Events and Consulting put on the market in downtown every Friday for multiple weeks at a time, catalyzing a pocket of people that haven't felt welcome in downtown, in an area of downtown that has been vacant for X amount of years. I'm not, in no way am I saying that I did that. But what I'm saying is like, those are probably some of the biggest impactful things I've had the ability to have a finger on, when I look at what kind of change might come after it. But that's just now. You know, we don't know we don't know what we're about to get into.
Oh no, it better get better.
It has
right?
to. It has to. It has to.
All right, so now we don't have a guest tomorrow because
I'm shutting it down. 365. Closing it off.
That's right. So I've been trying to think what should we replace there, and I don't know. You probably watched at least one other show.
Like I've watched at least 30 minutes of multiple shows because I listen to it while I'm working, and then you know me.
That's what I do. I can't listen to shows like this because I dream and I drift off.
Or I'll hear something that makes me like, oh, okay, I'll come back. But you just said something that made me run in this direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, my goal was 365 days in a row.
And you did that.
And that was basically the goal. And then we learned as we went, right? We stayed agile. We have to do this different next time.
Right.
But we're going to sit back and start learning from that.
The debrief, baby.
So let me learn a little bit from you.
Okay.
What question should I have asked every guest?
Oh, man, that's so subjective and completely based off of our personal perspectives. A mind like me, when I hear that, I think about the question that I try to ask everyone, especially younger people, because I want their mind to start firing certain synapses. But I know you might have made note of how I say, like, how I'm not trying to cause any problems or make somebody mad, but I do need to fix something. I like to ask, what upsets you? What frustrates you? What gets you, like, what makes you say, why is it like that? And like, if you look, don't you dare be like, oh, it could be like this, because an individual like me is like, all right, let's do that. So my question is always like, what don't you like? What bothers you? What like grinds you on the inside? Because a person like me, I think I'm like, that means you got to do something about that.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, more often than not, what happens is we say something about that. But, I want to respectfully challenge people. What are you doing about that?
Right.
What problem do you see? Work on it.
And this is why I love entrepreneurs. That's why I think it's the path to ending poverty. And it's because entrepreneurs, remember we used to do that newcomer, new idea. And thank you, by the way, Farhan. And this, I think you participated maybe in this too.
What's good?
And
what's good?
Thank you, Kendall, as well.
My bad, I haven't been looking.
But we did that newcomers, new ideas pitch competition.
Right, one of my
what
favorites.
Always impressed me was every idea. I mean, they were looking out their front window, seeing that problem, and I want to solve that. And it really drilled home the importance of falling in love with your problem that you want to solve. You don't start out and say, okay, I want to develop an app, and I don't know, a bunch of people play beer bongs, so let's develop an app for this. How are you going to be passionate for that? How are you going to, that's not the starting. Don't start with an answer. Start with the question.
Right.
And yeah,
man. So
we're gonna tip this bitch over, man.
Everything that's about to ensue in the future, like, respectfully. And if I did it, that's what my conviction was. And I want to make as much space for myself to follow my convictions while respectfully allowing other people to follow theirs. Because if what we're saying, if you're solution oriented in what you're trying to do, then I have to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're trying to do what you think is right. And I can't fault someone for doing what they think is right, especially if it turns knobs on something that they didn't like. The last thing I want to do is hear you complain. I hate hearing myself complain, but I just know that that's not productive. That's not creative. You know what I mean? Let's produce something.
Yeah.
Right. And you produced 365 shows, man.
It feels good. I feel sad, but I feel happy.
Right.
I feel I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow,
Right.
because I'm going to pop out of bed, because every morning I pop out of bed and I'm anxious whether my guest is going to come. I mean, this has been, it's been, when I start talking to you guys about what I've learned and what these feelings have brought about, oh my goodness, I think it's going to be interesting, I think.
No, you're churning.
So,
you got a lot and you're churning.
So tomorrow I will publish some data.
Okay.
So I might give some demographic data. I might give a story. I might give a, who knows what.
I don't
either. But I'll be also publishing the website here soon too, with every show summarized and lots of cool things. I'll show you sometime.
I was gonna say I didn't even know that was happening.
So, we got a lot to do. Happiness, sadness, joy, hope, and or love. Which word or words would you like to talk about?
I mean, you asked me this earlier, and the ones that keep coming to my mind are like love and sad. You know, that's just what comes to my mind.
I don't know that anybody's ever, happiness and sad or joy and sad have been chosen together. I don't know that anybody's done love and sad.
Yeah.
Why are you combining? Isn't love supposed to be happy and sad supposed to be bad?
No. No, because well, no, I know, but like love is full. So in order for something to be full, both thing up, then there needs to be a down. Like how? Okay, because it's full, then there needs to be a cold. So love is like both those things. But I'm not saying that like love and sadness are together. Those are just, I would assume the things that I'm going through or the places that I'm looking, those are the two words that resonate with me the most. But also like those are two of my biggest motivators. When I look at them on the paper, I think that it's safe to say that that's why I do everything. Everything that I do, I either do it out of love or I either do it because there's some sort of relationship to sadness. But most time it's how do I address, fix, or like make the sadness not so sad, or like, you know, so kind of like that problem thing. Problems usually make us sad. Okay, so like you have sadness. What are we going to do about that? Like, do we need to experience it? Do we need to feel it? Do we need to take actions that elicit a different outcome? But also, bro, love is supreme. Love is supreme.
We often talk about, you know, the kind of heaven and hell. You can't have heaven without having hell. Mm-hmm. You can't have happiness without having sadness. But you just flipped it a little bit on me with, you know, those two words that you chose. When I look at them, I think similar to what you were saying, in that those are the words that I feel that drive me. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sad when a young lady comes and asks for needles, you know, for her exchange or whatever. But I have love for everybody here. And I don't know what that always means, because it's not the same love I have for my kids.
Right.
But it's a very, very similar feeling. Right. And very, I don't know what it is. I don't know. But that sadness always seems to be wrapped around that love. To me a little bit.
Yeah, no, again,
that's my passion.
Seeing them laid out like that really is interesting. But even if I, for example, when I take something like the program Block Market, my man, I'm sad that I don't see myself anywhere. That's actually disheartening. But okay, what do we do with that sadness? First, we recognize it, all right, and then we address like, is this something that we need to do something about? And then it's okay, cool. What are you gonna do? But that's today. What's the 11th? That's the 11th. Yeah, that's the 11th.
And tomorrow will be the 12th.
Favorite number.
12.
Yeah. Well, it's like been my number for the past little bit.
Your quarterback or something?
No, it's just like it's a dozen. It's like a number of council, midnight, as well as like day. 12 is 12 is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Maybe a little 8 too.
I like 8 too.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
That was my quarterback number though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. It's eternal.
I was 21. I was either a halfback or a cornerback.
I've been 21 too. Yep.
Which is the opposite of 12. No, it's not.
I don't talk with you about 12 usually though.
You all know what I said, I think. I'm pretty sure of that. Right?
Yeah.
So you said, and I'm going to try to open this space up for you if you want it. You said you wanted to ask me a few things during your show. And I don't know if you still want to do that. We didn't talk about it. But do you think I should talk about what I want to do with season 2 and what I want to do with my other show? Or do you think I should wait?
I don't know.
Actually, I'm not going to talk about my second show.
What's funny is I was like, I think that you should wait. But
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of maybe a disappointing answer to people who are curious, but I think you should kind of wait.
Well, let's get some fear of missing out.
Yeah,
An announcement date or
that is
something,
too.
right?
That's tactical a little bit. I think, also fully conclude this, right? The punctuation on this really comes tomorrow when you start releasing the data. Well, first, when you wake up and you don't have to think the same thoughts.
Right.
And then you publish the data and then you show the website. And then you get tomorrow's like your Sunday. You get to, okay, that was a good work. And then your Monday. Maybe you can announce what's good on Monday or something like that.
All right. You know what's going to make me sad about tomorrow? Is that I'm going to feel relieved. But if anybody remembers way back at the beginning, I started the show every damn day because you can't escape poverty, injustice, the hustle, the prison, the whatever, the racism. You can't, it's on you. You can't escape it.
Right.
And tomorrow I'm going to escape the show and it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel super weird.
Nothing is permanent, man. And especially when it comes to a work, I understand some of the sentiment that you're saying. Really, though, you can only feel bad if you don't do your work, though.
Yeah.
And like you did it, you did it. And
I'm gonna have to get up and pour something back into it again.
Well, it'll come again in a different way, because you also said this is even if it's season 1, this is phase 1, this is part 1, this is iteration 1. Plus, you got to go back to the store, you got to look through stuff, absorb stuff, look at it differently, and then come with the next thing. So it's not done. It's just this season is run its course.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So Omar said, I think he means sneak peek, but maybe his A doesn't work on his phone or something. He's gonna say that's exactly right. So I'm gonna do a weekly show. There's going to be, I'm gonna be the co-host of the show. There's gonna be a main host that's not me, and there will be 3 people in the room during the show, and that'll be a weekly show from about, let's say, now till the end of the year. And then I think January 1st, make it real super clean, will be episode 1 of season 2. Then I can just look at the dates.
Season 2 of Every Damn Day? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, see, you're not over.
So that's what I'm thinking. So taking a break for a little bit, getting to go on vacation or something.
It's necessary, man. You're here for a lot of people.
A lot of people have sacrificed to make this show happen. I mean, it takes from my family. We're driving to California. I got to find a Starbucks or something to broadcast my show.
Right.
So it was tough to move around and all that.
Right.
So, yeah. What did we forget to talk about?
I don't think that we forgot anything for this time. I mean, that you and I can always talk for infinity, but we also do I like to think of things like acts or scenes, and you and I usually get to a resolution of like a scene or an act, and then the next time we pick up, it's like, I feel real resolved here. I think it's a good show to close out on. I love the fact that I was here. I don't feel like I'm missing out on saying anything. The things that I would go into, I know are like that would be like another episode, you know. But fortunately enough, like we actually know each other in real life, so we can have those conversations off of the show. You know?
We need to have more of them.
Yeah.
I need to have more of
Well, I'm coming around more, man.
I know.
You know, I'm coming around more. That's not just here. That's like, you know, abroad. You know, I assess myself, my relationships, how I am. You know what? Again, going back to an agricultural pun, like how are you tending to your gardens, and what in your garden needs your attention, and how consistent are you with giving it the nutrients that it needs, and especially like relationships that are of substance. You gotta tend to those, right?
You know, someone stole my bike. That's why I don't see it downtown anymore.
Oh, yo, yeah, no, there was a stream of like you coming down regularly. It just pull up on me randomly. I'm sorry that they stole your bike. It's about to be cold soon. Would you still ride in the cold?
I did 1 year.
I've been thinking about that this year.
It was no fun.
No,
I did not like that.
No, that's why I'm like, I don't know. I don't think
the bus was better.
Yo, shout out to Kata.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kata. Shout out to accessibility. But that's a whole nother thing. But Kata is economic development. It is. And I look forward to when they're not just a bus ride, you know.
I remember that those kids though wanted to start their own bus company because they had to wait at the bus stop.
Right. With the newcomers.
So the Southwest
ideas.
side, you better pay attention to more, Kata.
Hey,
that's coming from Jerry, not Siso.
No, and I was gonna say we that's something we can do something about though. That's what's cool about that. We can do something about that.
Yeah.
You know, that's something we can do something about that.
Do you have fun?
I always have fun, man. Let me close it out though.
Please do.
Because I'm really excited because you asked me like, you know, how would I close it out? And I would close it out like this, you know, starting really doesn't mean much if you don't finish, right? And when we're at show 365, you did what you said you would do. We're also having conversations about like what comes in the future, what projects are you working on? I mean, the stuff that we're talking about is exciting and important, but things really gain their significance when you accomplish, when you finish, when you get to the end of things. So I want to encourage myself first, and whoever else it might resonate with. It's extremely significant that you start that idea, that business, that relation, whatever. It's great that it's been started. You know, I want to encourage myself and all of us, while I congratulate you though for finishing, right? Finishing. That's where the win really is, man. So like I salute you, I respect you, I see you. You finished this. So that's also why your tomorrow, it's good. You can actually stop because you actually finished. And I hope that these projects and whatever things people are working on or we talk about, you know, may we all gain the satisfaction of finishing, right? Because we want to get it started, but we don't want to just be starters, right? Let's finish that book, that whatever, that workout, finish it. And I'm going to be trying to finish my things as well, man.
I love you, man.
I love you too, G.
Thanks so
much.
My dog. Thanks, everyone. That's a wrap for season 1.
Yo, 365 in the books.
I'll see you all soon.
Peace.
We'll be doing something.
Peace.